Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving right into what is honestly one of nature's most mind-bending mysteries. We're going to break down Eugène Marais' classic work, giving you a summary for the layman. You see, Marais spent years out on the South African veld, just intensely studying the common termite. And you know what? What he found totally challenges everything we think we know about biology, individuality, and, well, what it actually means to be a living creature.
Okay, think about this. When you look at an ant or a termite hell, you probably see a society, right? A busy, bustling little insect city filled with millions of tiny, independent citizens just going about their jobs. But what if that's entirely wrong? I want you to reimagine the termite colony not as a society of individuals, but as one unified composite animal. Just let that sink in for a second. Millions of insects actually functioning as a single giant organism. Sounds crazy, right? Let's look closer.
So take a look at this massive earthen structure. It's a tower termitary. Now, instead of viewing this as some kind of high-rise apartment building for bugs, Marais proposes this absolutely revolutionary metaphor. We really need to look at this termitary as a giant stationary body. It's a composite animal. Sure, its organs haven't been literally fused together the way ours have, but it functions exactly like a human organism. Literally every single part inside this towering dirt structure plays a highly specific biological role for the whole. It's like a giant puzzle where every piece is alive.
Section 1. Birth of a termitary. The composite animal releases its seed. Let's see how this incredible organism actually reproduces.
You see, the sequence of their mating flight is incredibly rapid and instinctive, and it shows this eerie, almost supernatural collective intelligence. First off, the winged termites, these are the potential kings and queens, they just wait patiently deep underground. They've never seen the outside world. They know absolutely nothing about predators. Yet, 9 times out of 10, they completely refuse to emerge until 2 super strict conditions are met. First, rain must have fallen to soften the hard earth so they can burrow later on. And second, dusk has to have arrived so the birds are safely asleep. I mean, they just know. Only then do they take flight. It's an incredible instinctual calculation.
And then, notice the astonishing transformation that happens the literal second they land. These beautiful, winged adults spend months, sometimes even years if there's a drought, growing these delicate wings in total darkness. Yet, after experiencing the thrill of flight for maybe 3 seconds and flying a distance of just a few yards, they make this lightning-fast movement. It's so fast your eye can barely track it. They just discard those exquisite wings, literally tossing them aside like a worn-out coat. Their brief time as a flying organ is completely over. They are now grounded faunders.
Moving on to Section 2, Anatomy of the Mound, Dissecting the Alien. Let's walk through a direct biological analogy, because it's wild how closely this maps to us. The outer crust of the mound, that acts exactly like your skin. It's waterproof and protective. Inside, the workers and soldiers constantly circulating through the passages function just like your bloodstream. The workers are the red blood cells distributing nutrients everywhere, and the soldiers are the white blood cells rushing to defend against trauma. Then you have the fungus gardens. They break down coarse wood that the termites can't digest alone, so they act exactly like a stomach and a liver. And at the absolute center of it all is the queen. She functions as both the brain and the heart of the entire organism. And this brilliantly illustrates how that one brain basically generates all of its own parts. The queen gives birth to completely blind, sexless, and physically distinct forms, the workers and the soldiers. It is just mesmerizing that these specialized castes are basically born as automated body parts. Think about that for a second. They possess no individual urges, 0 reproductive capabilities, and absolutely no sight. They exist for one reason only, to serve the physical economy of the larger composite body.
Which brings us to Section 3, the Queen's invisible power, the hub of the group psyche.
So traveling deep down into this pitch-black, cement-like palace chamber at the very core of the mound, we find the sheer, shocking scale of the queen. Over time, she undergoes a massive physical transformation, growing into this gigantic, completely immobile mass compared to the tiny workers attending her. She is permanently trapped in a hard cell that the workers dynamically rebuild and expand around her as she grows. Actually, this cell acts exactly like a skull protecting a vital brain. She totally loses all power of locomotion. Literally, the only part of her that moves voluntarily is her tiny little head. But because she's immobile, her control over the colony relies on something Marais calls the group psyche. What is that?
Well, it's a mysterious psychological power, basically an influence at a distance projected directly from the queen. Since the termitary doesn't have a physical nervous system connecting the individual bugs, the queen controls collective behavior, kind of like how human ductless glands, say the adrenal gland, regulate organs across our own bodies. They use chemical or subtle broadcasts without direct nerve links. It's remote control, organic style.
And Marais actually proved she's the true brain through some absolutely incredible experiments. First off, he showed individual termites have zero free will. They are literal automatons. Second, the psychological influence can actually penetrate physical barriers. Listen to this. Marais drove a large steel plate straight through a termitory, completely isolating the two halves. Despite zero communication, the blind workers on both sides built perfectly matching, symmetrical arches against the plate. Unbelievable, right? However, distance does weaken this signal. And most incredibly, if the queen suffers somatic death, all organized, directed activity across the entire colony stops instantly. The community simply falls apart. It's over. This realization entirely changes how we need to understand sensation. An individual termite, it feels absolutely no pain, no hunger, and no thirst. They're essentially completely numb. All sensations are shifted entirely to the collective community. Think about it this way. Just as your liver feels no pain when it's injured, but you, the composite human, feel the pain, an individual termite feels nothing. It is the community itself, centered right there in the queen's chamber, that suffers from famine or feels the distress of a wound to the mound. And when it comes to wounds, the soldiers and workers act as highly specialized biological tools. If you were to puncture the outer crust of the termitary, you trigger a rapid biological reaction. Boom! There is an immediate rush of these soldiers and workers to the breach. The soldiers defend the wound, while the workers use sticky fluids to seal the hole from the inside out. It operates in the exact same mechanical way as human blood clotting to heal a cut on your arm. It's literally the mound healing its skin. Section 4. Redefining instinct and life. Are we just termitaries?
Marais left us with this super striking quote. He said, "We are ourselves no more than dead termitaries, through which circulates a living substance." At first, that sounds kind of crazy, right? Until you realize that 9/10 of the human body consists of dead matter, dead cell walls, exactly like the dead earth that makes up the termite mound. The structure itself is essentially dead, animated only by the living stream of blood, fluids, and energy continuously circulating within it.
So it leaves us with this final, truly mind-bending question. Where do the boundaries of a single life form truly begin and end? If a mound of dirt and millions of individual insects can share a single psyche, act as blood and organs, and operate as one distinct animal, well, it forces us to completely reevaluate how we view nature. And honestly, how we view the millions of individual cells cooperating to make up our very own bodies. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the soul of the white ant. I hope this explainer leaves you looking at the natural world just a little bit differently today.